Number one. Now these are tips for teen writers, but really, if you're a young writer, you're just getting started, these are some things that you need to know. Number one, everybody who writes is going to have their opinion, and they're going to give it to you whether you like it or not, about how many words you should write a day, whether it's 25 or 500. And I can tell you right now, if you do that, you're liable of burning yourself out. I've written novels and screenplays just by dedicating 15 minutes a day. Because sometimes after 15 minutes, you are on a roll and you just keep cranking it out. And the next thing you know, 2 or 3 hours have passed. I understand that. I've been there. Times like that are wonderful. There's other times that you spend 15 minutes and you're done and it's time to take a break or it's time to wait until tomorrow. So just keep that in mind when people are giving you advice on how much you should write. You write when you want to. Even me, someone that's a prolific writer, I don't write 7 days out of the week. And if you do that, and if you believe all of those rah videos of like burn the ships and burn plan B and show up every day until you make a deal, you will wear yourself out. And I've learned that people that stand up and give those speeches, they're paid to give those rah speeches. It's in everybody's interest because they want to pump you up and send you home, and hopefully next year you pay another $5,000 to come back. So that's number one. Number two, it doesn't matter when you write. You can do it in the morning, you can do it during lunch, you can do it at night. When I first got started writing, I like to do it at night when the businesses of the day had concluded and everybody was home and everything was quiet and everything was over. But as I've gotten older, I prefer the mornings. Everybody is different. You write where you're comfortable to write. I like it in the quiet now, but when I was younger, I like to listen to classical music. You may need a quiet library. You may need a quiet room. You may need a loud coffee shop. You just got to figure out where you thrive best and do that. Number three, when your mind is exhausted, you need to spend time with your friends and laugh. And you also need to balance that with some manual labor. And when I say manual labor, I don't mean join city employees and build the next railroad. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about pulling landscaping. I'm talking about you finding something that you enjoy that's physical. That could be the gym, it could be planting flowers, and it could be some sort of blue collar job. To each his own, whatever you want to do. But working the body will help your mind. That's just the way it is. It's about balance, and every single day is going to be different, and you're on your own journey with that. Number four, don't distract yourself with the publishing industry or whether or not you're going to get your book published. At the end of the day, you can always publish it yourself. You can always crank it out there on social media. The game changes every single year, and I would tell you, it was my dream to get published, and then I sat down with a major publisher. In the publishing world, we call them guerrilla publishers. They were in the top 5. It wasn't Simon & Schuster, but they were on the same level. And I'm not going to tell you who it was, but they offered me $10,000 for my first novel, The Mason Jar, and I turned them down because I'd already made $10,000 selling that book myself. And my agent, who had worked in the publishing world and had been an agent for 20 years, you know what he told me? He said I was the very first writer he ever knew who turned down a major publishing deal. But that was before Instagram. That was before YouTube is what it is. That was before TikTok. Facebook and Twitter were out at that time, but they weren't as well oiled as they are now. They weren't as lucrative. And number 5, should you join a writer's group? Should you join a writing community? That's up to you. I never did, and I did just fine. And what happens a lot of time in those writing communities, you're not there for emotional support. What happens is everybody wants you to read their 85,000 word novel, and you'll burn yourself out pretty quick. Or they'll want you to read their 120-page screenplay, which they think, when it's made into a movie, is going to win an Oscar. And when you're polite and you let them know in a polite way that a 6th grader could have written that screenplay, you'll learn pretty quick that the writing community is not for everybody. You write for you. And if you're writing for you, you'll always enjoy it. And when you stop enjoying it, then you stop writing.